I've been meaning to do this project for over a year now, and I finally got around to it. When I bought this truck, it came with a couple things that my previous Rangers didn't have. First, it has 4-wheel drive, and second, it has not 1, but 2 places to hitch a trailer. Now, I don't know why you need 2 tow points. Maybe options are good, but I've always hated these little drop-down trailer hitch things because when a trailer's not actually connected to it, I always end up bumping my shins on them. Usually you can take them off, there's a lock on them, but I bought this truck secondhand and I don't have the key to it. I've seen videos on YouTube where people cut off these locks with a Sawzall, but one of the things I hate about a Sawzall is that if you hit the edge of the blade on something, the whole saw bounces back at you, and that sucks. And if you take a close look at this tow hitch in particular, there's not a lot of space in there, and that was pretty much guaranteed to have kickback, so I just kind of left it alone. Another thing that sucks about these tow hitches is that they kind of kill your departure angle when you're off-roading. If you look at this bumper, you can see that it's obviously seen some action. It's crooked, it's got some waviness to it, and there's also a dent in the corner of the bed. We're going to address all 3 of those things in this video. First step is to remove the bumper. Like most projects, it's better to do this with a friend, but if you're in a pinch, you can totally do it alone. I'll show you how. First, locate the 4 bolts that hold the bumper and the trailer hitch to the truck. Use a box wrench to keep the nut on top of the frame from spinning, and use an impact wrench or a long socket wrench to remove the 4 bolts. If you're doing it alone, it's helpful to find something that you can prop up one edge of the bumper to. After removing one side of the bumper, I used the nut and the bolt to keep the hitch and the bumper together so that they wouldn't fall apart and fall on top of me later. Repeat the process on the other side, and then do your very best to not drop the bumper on your face. Next, remove the tailgate. Lift up on the metal tab, push the cable towards the front of the truck, and remove the cable from the bed. Lift the tailgate to about 45 degrees, lift up on the right side, and then pull the entire tailgate towards the right. With the bumper gone, the back of the truck is awfully square. So we're going to trim the back corner to improve the departure angle and give it a more sleek look. If you watched a few of my other videos, you've seen that you can trim the sheet metal on your truck using all kinds of tools. You can use a Sawzall, an angle grinder with cutoff wheel, you can use a Dremel tool or a Rotary tool. I'm not a big fan of using the Dremel tool because the blade's really small and it's really hard to get straight lines. And if you look at what happened on my Xterra, you'll see that I got a lot of hot spots because sometimes the blade would get stuck and then it would melt the paint. It just wasn't very pretty. The Sawzall's not very fun because the metal will just bounce back and forth on you and it's really hard to see what you're cutting. My favorite tool is the angle grinder with cutoff wheel because the big blade allows you to make real big, long, straight cuts, and it's also a lot more predictable. Using your favorite straight edge, in my case an Amazon box that I found lying around, draw your lines and begin your cuts. Using the angle grinder, it's a lot easier to get a nice straight line, and so I started with that big sweep up towards the corner. For this particular project, I went back and forth between the angle grinder with cutoff wheel and the Harbor Freight Sawzall look-alike thing. The corner of the bed's kind of tough because there's a lot of little metal pieces and structures behind there to keep the corner strong. This part takes a little bit of patience. I like to cut little bits of metal off at a time and use the vice grips to bend stuff around so I can get a better angle to cut them. On the passenger side, you'll notice that I overshot my line and I ended up coming up a little bit too high in the corner. This is where a metal flap wheel comes in handy. The flap wheel was my favorite part of the project. I was able to smooth out my lines, take off sharp edges, and also be able to fine tune and clean up any imperfections that I did in the first cut. Quick tip, whenever working with metal, it's always a good idea to cut less so that you have material to work with when you're trying to fine tune the lines and everything. If you cut too much, you don't have that option. Definitely not show quality, but this truck is for trail use 99.9% of the time, so I really don't care what it looks like, and eventually this truck is going to get fiberglass bedsides anyway. People like to give me crap about this in the comments, but I've been mounting my license plates like this on my off-road trucks for almost 20 years now with no problems. I've gone through the desert going 60, 70 miles an hour, never lost a license plate. Climbing rocks and doing all kinds of fun stuff, never lost a license plate. In this case, if you're super worried about it, I've got 2 on the top and I've got 4 on the bottom because I had to somehow secure the license plate lights to the license. After choosing a spot for my license plate, I drilled a couple holes into the bed, used 2 zip ties to secure the license plate to the truck, and then used 4 more to mount the license plate lights. Basically what I did for the bottom is, if you pretend that this is the license plate light, I used 1 zip tie around the cable like this so that the zip tie going through the license plate would have something to grab onto. Overall, I'm super happy with how it all came out. It looks a whole lot more cohesive now because the front of the truck was trimmed and you could tell it was, and it didn't have a bumper, and now the back now actually matches. A couple of future projects I have in store. I'm going to be building a bumper for the front and possibly a bumper for the back. A couple people have requested that I do a video on how to pull the bedsides on these trucks, but to be honest with you, A, I'm lazy, and B, I kind of like the way the truck looks as it is. But if enough of you guys comment below that you want that content, maybe I'll make the video. Hope you guys found this helpful. As always, if you have any questions, post them in the comments below. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.